Jessica Arenado I think she's coming in here with a hot take. With Fast and Furious 2, aka Too Fast, Too Furious. I don't think that's going to be at the top of a lot of people's league.
I like Jack Robinson's response. The first one was 5 out of 10. All the rest are tied for the worst. what a great comment. That's awesome.
So I think Greg's out of answering this question because he's seen Fast but not Furious.
Yeah. I've only seen a couple of them, so I really can't answer educated. However, if it was me out of the ones I've seen, probably the first one, just because of the nostalgia.
How about the worst one? What's the worst one that you have seen so far?
Oh, yeah. Second one.
Okay.
Well, out of the two he's seen, that was pretty obvious. I still can't get over that you haven't seen Tokyo Drift.
You watched some of the other ones too,
Yeah, like 6 and 7, and those, even though the newer ones are everyone says that they're bad, they're good for just mindless action entertainment. They're like Michael Bay movies. You're just this isn't really a good movie, but I'm probably gonna watch it because there's explosions and stuff. So at least they have an entertainment value to them. No one says they're the best. They're not Oscar worthy, but 2 is just bad on every level. There's terrible acting, terrible storyline.
Well, you know why that was, right? You know why that was?
Why?
Because it was a gigantic Mitsubishi commercial. Mitsubishi sponsored the whole endeavor.
Yeah,
so
I was wondering whether you were going to go there or not. Well,
Mitsubishi made great cars, don't get me wrong, but they can't even run their own business, let alone a movie.
I mean, they did have the Evo there. That was the first time, so that was really cool.
Yeah.
Actually, I think they took a normal Lancer and then they kind of put the wide body kit on there, so it looks like the Lancer Evolution. But then they also had the Eclipse convertible, and that was not really a performance car at all. And that was really disappointing to see.
Wasn't that the one with the ejecto seat, cuz?
I think that's another one. That is in Too Fast and Furious.
That's in the second.
But it was a different car. It was like the Yenko Camaro.
Yeah, it was in the Camaro.
Jay says, I think they're landing on the moon in the next one. Yes, they are just too fast and too furious for this world.
There was a great meme, and it was just a picture of the Tesla Roadster in space, and then just Fast and Furious 10 preview. It's perfect.
How about you, Chad? What's your favorite one?
Sorry, I was just verifying. Yes, it was a Challenger in that movie that had the ejection seat. Well done, fellas.
Oh, Challenger.
Yeah, Challenger.
For me, it's either one or Tokyo Drift, because those are truest, in my opinion, to as close to car culture as possible. The first one was just, for so many people, it opened my, it was American cars, get these little 4-cylinder or 6-cylinders out of here. If it's not a V8, it ain't great. All that sort of, we'll just call it what it is, nonsense. And then you see this movie and it's wow, these cars are really cool. And then you dive into the culture. At the time I was just getting into cars. We were doing a lot of mods of cars. I think I've told the story about us drag racing in the parking lot of the college I went to after baseball practice a couple times. And it just hit. And then the third one was just kind of hey, yeah, we made another Fast and Furious movie, and it's very similar. Okay, you're not going to spend the money to turn a Mitsubishi Evo into rear-wheel drive only into a drift car, but it had the 350Z, which I think is poignant given all the news that's coming out today with the new Z.
Right.
It had the Velside RX-7, which doesn't look like an RX-7 at all. It had a lot of these really, really cool cars, S13s, the S chassis and stuff like that. It was more about the car culture than it was about, the action needed to be there, but it wasn't why they were all there. It was, there was car culture to it.
So what you're saying is I need to watch Drift.
Yes, 100%.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Is it on anything? Is it on Netflix or
one.
Hulu Plus or Paramount Plus or anything? I don't know where it's at.
I think the franchise is too successful to be streaming anywhere. I think you'd have to actually buy
it. Chat, let us know.
Seriously,
is it on any streaming service? Chat, let us know.
HBO Max.
Is it on HBO Max?
Is it? Okay.
According to the extremely quick Google I just did.
All right. Looks like I'll have to get a free thing from HBO Max soon, and then immediately cancel it. I still haven't finished Game of Thrones either.
Don't.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Read. And that's coming from me, who doesn't. So Just keep that in mind.
Who can't?
As I'm about to read comments,
You illiterate bastard.
of course, the one that comes up is in some form of text I can't read, but the comment is, I really like Tokyo Drift, but I think it's kind of the dark horse of the community. Kind of what I was just saying. Like, they didn't really market it. It was just like, okay, we made a movie, and then it was really, really good. And then they were like, yes, let's see how high we can launch cars into, skyscrapers. We can totally drive a car through there and make it look real. So, like, yeah, I think Tokyo Drift.
Real-ish.
But I think in terms of like the story arc, like the first and the third were pretty good. Like the character development was definitely good. Like the first one, it kind of makes sense, is like the first time we're seeing these characters, so they like spend a little bit more time talking about them. So I always thought that like movies that are more character driven are like more interesting. It's a more classic way of doing it. And then the car culture is in those movies, because like the first one, it's like the car culture in Los Angeles, the tuning culture. And then we go to Japan, which is like probably the most interesting car culture in the entire world. Like, of course the cars are really cool, but I also like the story arc of that one as well, like following kind of like an outsider, in this completely new culture. So, the other Fast and Furious movies are like much more mindless. So I like the first and third because of that, and the third one being more interesting just because, again, the story is more interesting.
Absolutely. Let's just face it, like every successful TV show, movie series, etc., it's almost, the topic at hand almost doesn't matter. If the characters are engaging and interesting and they drive a story, that's what makes for good entertainment. But the other ones, they just sort of, it was like, all right, here's what we want to do, make the story work, as opposed to just being original, because those were the two originals in this series, if you really want to think about it.
I think my favorite car out of all of them, and I think you guys can kind of guess what it is the Mitsubishi Evo from Tokyo Drift, the red one. Because I ended up buying that car, I think because of that movie. I'm not really sure, but it's an awesome car, and they turned it into a rear-wheel drive. It's got that big wang in the back. So,
big wang.
Yeah, that's my favorite one.
Greg, of the 4.5 minutes you've watched, what's your favorite?
I would probably have to say, I think it was already mentioned in chat, but I think it's right there at the bottom, Dom's Charger, because what the origination of the series was about is about like tuner cars, and like that was like the origination of like, true, like, I don't know, for me, like American tuner culture was that muscle car era, back in like the 60s and like 50s, 60s, 70s. So I'm not a huge classics guy, I'm not a huge muscle car guy, but to be perfectly honest, when that car came out in the first movie, I did get chills, because it was like really cool to see all that, like, heritage come back. It's, that's where like a lot of the origination of American car enthusiasm and car culture came from. I know that the car, like, sort of like, it originated in Germany with Mercedes-Benz and everything, but it was really like mastered here in the United States with like Ford and the production line, and GM just sort of like taking over the world for a while. So I really liked seeing that, harkening back to yesteryear with Dom's Charger. I thought that was really cool within like a tuner culture kind of movie, like a modern tuner culture kind of movie.
There's a lot to choose from, right? So you have the R34, Skyline, the Supra, all kinds of stuff. You even have like an Escort Mexico, I think it was, Escort RS 1600. You have all these cool cars, right? So we'll like, you have the Charger, like Greg said, the Skyline, RB Mustang, which I still think is really cool just because of the sort of FU it is. RB enthusiasts hate the fact that it's going in a heavy muscle car, and muscle car enthusiasts hate that it's missing 2 cylinders. So I kind of like the trolley nature of it. Yenko Camaro, and it's just, there's the Escort I was crossing with. This Lycan thing, definitely at the very bottom of my list, just because it's that.
Yeah.
Charger Daytona, I mean that's pretty up there and stuff. This is the Veil
That
Slide.
RX-7.
The best looking RX-7 ever made.
If you guys love the look of that, go check out TJ Hunt's channel. He's building one of these, or has built one. There's the side of the F-Bomb Camaro that I think other Chad was talking about. They ruined that S2000. This Charger is actually insane because they go slightly wide-bodied, and it has like 2,000 horsepower, tires wide enough to pave the asphalt on which it's tearing up. Here's another resto-modded Stingray. That was actually really cool. That was in the one where I think they have like the grappling hooks.
That had a very small roll.
Yeah, but that was like in like I think there were all these like when Dom turned heel, I think it was, you know, a GT40 replica because I honestly, I think I mentioned it. It's for me, I like actually the RB Mustang, just again because it's such a troll car, but like the parts of it are really, really good, right? Like classic Mustang, and then the classic RB, which is in it. I think a lot of it is because we never got that engine over here until relatively recently, like the kind of forbidden fruit of it. Yeah, I think that Mustang is all, it's, I don't know, like as a Mustang guy, you'd expect me to say, oh my gosh, it's pure blasphemy, but I love the creativity of it. I love the idea of saying, yeah, we're gonna put this in there, and yeah, let's bring on the hate, which is why Greg should put a Saab engine in his Polestar.
Nope.